Well, hello everyone, good afternoon, and welcome to this student panel session for the International Business Administration Program. Also, for those who are watching the live stream, welcome. My name is Shirley Akkoord. I work as admissions officer at Rotterdam School of Management, Erasmus University. So today's session, or this session, is going to be a bit more interactive than the previous sections. So this means you can ask questions to our students. Well, this is your opportunity to ask questions. Before we start, so you can ask them any questions that you want to, could be about the program, classes, maybe the campus, or tips and tricks on finding housing. If you have an admissions question, so for instance, if you want to know about the requirements, about your diploma, or whether you need to take an English language test, please save those questions for the admission staff. So you can come to me afterwards, after this session, or you can go downstairs to the stand where we have our admission staff. So those type of questions, please ask them to the admission staff. Other than that, feel free to ask any other questions. So it's about the students' experiences. Furthermore, there are 2 or 3 student ambassadors in the room with a microphone. If you have a question, please raise your hand and they will come to you with a microphone, and then you can ask your question. So I'll give the floor to our students, and they are the ones who are going to talk, basically. So could you introduce yourselves?
So, hi, I'm Anisha. I'm a second-year IBA student, and I obtained my IB diploma program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm from Germany. I'm also second year, and I did the German Abitur as a high school.
Hi, I'm Juliette. I'm French. I'm also in the second year of IBA, and I did the Bac Français International, so the BFI.
Hi, I'm Rafida. I did the Dutch diploma, so the VWO diploma, but I did it bilingually, so also did the IB one, and I'm currently a third-year IBA student.
Okay, well, thank you. So let's start with the questions. Who has a question? Who wants to be the first to ask? Do we have somebody with microphone? No. Okay. Did you have a question? Because are there any student assistants here with a microphone? Yes. Oh, hello. Oh, you're over there. Okay. Yes. A bit blinded by the light, so sorry for that. There's one question here up front, but I don't see anyone with a microphone here. But oh, sorry. We'll get back to you later. Go ahead.
For the third year, there was an option to go for an exchange, US, Italy, or whatever. What are the criteria for that? And does the school help with finding an opportunity in other countries?
I mean, we are in second year right now, so we just applied for exchange, and RSM has many partner schools all over the world, and so you go through application through RSM, and they sort you through the partner universities. So you write a lot of motivational questions and record videos of your motivation, and then based on that they sort you to your preferred choices. And there's many different options, so you can go anywhere in the world. And yeah, it's working through RSM, so you don't have to apply outside the university, but RSM nominates you, and then you'll be contacted.
Yeah, so they also look at your grades from the first year, I believe, right? So if you're doing well in the first year, your chances are better.
And for example, I'm going to Hong Kong.
I also am going to Hong Kong, and yeah, so first year there's a minimum requirement for grades that you need. So you need a 6.5 average GPA, and for some schools you might need a higher average GPA. But after that, the motivation is what counts on the exchange sorting.
Okay. And what about you guys? You're not going on exchange?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go to Singapore, NTU, and yeah, we had to fill in the application form with our motivation, and we needed to upload our, well, we didn't necessarily have to upload our grades because it was already like done by the system, but we just had to indicate which universities we had a preference of going to. And if you didn't necessarily get, you know, your first choices, you could also indicate like if you wanted to be located wherever in the world. So yeah, you could indicate like what locations you preferred. So yeah.
And did you get your preferred places? Now I'm curious to know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're okay, some of the students are a bit unhappy because they didn't get their preferred choices, but okay. Other question. I see someone there in the middle, and okay, yeah, could you raise your hand again? Yeah, there it is.
For the Dutch people doing
Oh.
IBA, why did you choose to do IBA, not the Dutch version of, they call it bedrijfskunde?
So for me, I did TVVO, so I did my secondary school bilingually. And for me, that was a big reason to also continue university also in English, especially with a program like International Business Administration. It is very valuable that you develop certain skills and knowledge, of course, in English, and as opposed to bedrijfskunde, which is limited to Dutch. I felt like it was more relevant, especially because, you know, if you look at businesses nowadays, it's getting more and more international every day.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is also to the foreign exchange. How is this funded? In other words, are there any costs, for example, on the housing and university fees in the partner universities?
So it depends on the university. I know, for example, in Hong Kong, for both of us, we have a reserved accommodation, but I know for some places they don't have a reserved accommodation. But for the tuition fees, you pay the RSM tuition fee when you go in exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the tuition fee stays the same. You just continue paying normally, and then depending on where you go, some universities have guaranteed housing for international students. Our university in Hong Kong has that, but I think some universities in Singapore do not have.
Yeah, so for example, the one that I'm going to has, well, the option for on-campus housing. However, it's not guaranteed, but in most cases you do get it. But for example, in Singapore, there's a university called SMU, the Singaporean Management University, and for there, you need to look for housing yourself, because the university doesn't have any on-campus options.
And also, if you're going to Europe, you have Erasmus Plus, so a bit of money per month if you're going to in exchange in Europe.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Yeah.
What were your average grades coming into IBA?
Any specific diploma that you're looking for?
Well, especially for the Dutch, what were your average grades?
So for me, I think my average grade for both English and math was around 8. And as for the average of all the grades, so like my general GPA, it was around 7.8.
Yeah, so it's pretty high. Okay. But you don't have to get that high. I mean, for next year, it's 6.5 average in order to basically be eligible for a place. Next one. Who has another question for our panel? Oh, I see one at the left.
Question for Anisha. How was it the transition from IB to Dutch university for you?
It was actually quite doable in the sense that, like, we have a lot of academic writing, especially in the first year with group projects, and I felt like the IAs and the extended essays, they really helped me out when it came to like writing academically and doing research. And also, I think it helps to note that in IB you do a lot of self-study as well, which is something that is reflected here in IBA. So I thought the transition was quite smooth, combined with, like, you know, the pre-academic program that the RSM and Erasmus has to offer. It's all just sort of went quite smoothly. I would say definitely the first block was a lot harder than the following blocks because you're getting used to like a new environment. But besides that, it was quite a smooth transition, I would say.
Thank you.
And what is the experiences for you guys? I mean for you three?
Coming from Germany, it was quite different because you have a lot of mandatory classes in Germany. I mean, you have to have your whole school day, and here it's not. There's not so much mandatory day from 8 to 4 p.m. So there's a lot more self-studying going on, and it was quite different, but I think doable to get used to. You have the first block, which might be a bit more challenging, but afterwards, I think it gets, when you have a little bit of a system, it gets quite doable, and you have a lot of time outside to manage your studying, but also to manage things that are outside of university, so some sports or other extracurriculars.
Yeah, coming from a French baccalaureate too, it was the same thing as you, I think. It was a bit difficult at the start because you have to be really to have a lot of autonomy, discipline, and you really have to do a lot of self-study compared to high school. But it was really doable because there's everyone to help you. You're doing a professional development course where you have a mentor, and I know that I asked my mentor a lot of questions if I needed help or something. So it's also really doable for me.
So for me, coming from the Dutch VWO diploma, the biggest difference was, of course, as well that you don't really have that many classes anymore. Because, of course, in high school, you're used to having classes every day for like 8 hours. And in IBA, that is very different, as self-study is a very big part of it. So it took me some time to adjust to that. And then also more specifically for the Dutch diploma, as in Dutch secondary schools, the focus is more on answering open-ended questions, whereas in IBA, most of the exams are actually multiple choice or like close-ended questions. And I did kind of realize that the way that you study for those exams is definitely different. So it just takes some time to adjust to that, but it's definitely not as big of a change as it seems like in the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? I see one over there and the right. That means my right side.
So what made you choose this program, apart from other programs?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why IBA?
For me, it was, of course, the ranking was the first thing that got me to look really into at the university, going through the university rankings in Europe. But then I think the internationality really is a big thing. I think many universities say it, but I feel it. Like my friends are from all over Europe and outside of Europe as well. Some are from Asia, America, and you really see that. And other universities I was considering in the Netherlands were much more either Dutch or more German. And coming from Germany, that was not really a priority. And so I think there's like my friends, I don't know, like 2 of them have the same nationality outside, and the other ones don't. And that's, I think, what's really special about IBA. And you don't have that in many other bachelors.
Yeah, for me, it was for 3 things: the international environment, also the ranking of the university because it's really good, and then also because it gives you a wide choice of careers after. It's really a general program, and I know that I didn't know what I was going to do in life, so I really wanted something really general. And so now we're focusing on marketing, on finance, and everything. And it's really interesting to really dive through every subject and really see where you fit.
What I really enjoyed about, or why I chose to go to IBA is because how hands-on it is. You get to work with companies from your first year, so it's you sort of get used to the workplace or understand how businesses work firsthand, which I thought was really nice about RSM.
For me, it kind of sums up everything that the other students have said as well. So it's definitely truly an international program. Like the others said as well, the friend groups that you make and the groups that you end up in are very, very diverse. And in a way, this is also a very valuable experience, as this also teaches you how to work with people that come from sometimes a completely different background, because sometimes you would expect that things are very general, or you would assume that everybody thinks certain things are normal or certain things go a certain way, but then you realize that it's actually has a lot to do with your nationality. So I think that's definitely also a very valuable experience to learn how to navigate through that, and it can also be very valuable, of course, later in your career. And then another reason for me why I decided to study IBA at RSM is, of course, also because it is in Rotterdam, and this city has a lot of opportunities, career-wise and also for students. There is many opportunities, for example, to do certain working students positions or internships next to your studies.
Okay, thank you. Clear. Anyone else with a question? Over there on the left.
Hello. So my question is employment after you graduate. What kind of job can you get with this degree? I think Julia mentioned that she's doing marketing on finance. And my question is, why didn't you choose a special degree like a financing or marketing? Why it's so vague?
IBA prepares you for a career in management, firstly, but you can also do consulting, you can also go in finance, you can basically do everything in business. So it's really general, so that's why I chose it, because I like the fact that we can choose after what we want to do. So in master, we're going to go more in depth, I don't know, in marketing or in finance. It depends, so yeah.
I think that's really also for me. Many people in the Dutch labor market expects people to do a master's, and 5% I think of bachelor students or IBA students only start working after their bachelor. So IBA gives you a very diverse set of skills, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, but now I know that I kind of want to go in the consulting direction, and so for me it was really helpful to find what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And if I had chosen, I think for me it was better to choose this than, for example, choosing finance, as you mentioned, because there I would have been constrained to the bachelor I was doing and to the specialty I was doing, and it would be more difficult to find out what other things I might enjoy or might not enjoy. And so I think if you are unsure of what you want to do, IBA is a very good starting point to find out. And then for your masters, because most people have to do it anyways, you can really specialize a lot more and do a finance master, a marketing master, and really see there where your specialty lies.
And also in like the third year, if you're worried about like IBA being too broad, in like the second half of the third year, you get to like specialize into a particular route if you want to like look more into AI, or if you want to do like stakeholder management or even finance. Like in the second half of the third year, you get to like specialize in that and write your bachelor thesis on something that you're very passionate about.
Yeah, so maybe I can tell a bit more about that, as I'm currently in my third year. So coming into IBA, I knew that I was interested in business, but I wasn't sure exactly what field I would see myself working in. So as the other said as well, IBA definitely prepares you. It like gives you an overview of like what the different aspects of business are, and so then later allows you to kind of specialize in something that you're the most interested in. So that is why I decided in my third year, so for the first half of the year, from September to December, I decided to do an internship instead of going on exchange. Because in the first semester of the third year, you have three options. You can either go on exchange, you can do an internship, or you could do a minor. So I chose for an internship because I wanted to see what it is like to work in a certain field. So I did an audit and assurance internship, so that's related to accounting. And this definitely did help me to kind of know what I would like to do, and would also really did help me to choose a master's and even a future career path. So I definitely think that this flexibility within the program, especially within the third year, definitely also helps you and prepares you for like, I don't know, kind of like a step towards your career. And as Anisha also mentioned, in the second half of the third year, you can choose between three tracks. So it's accounting and finance, AI for a connected world, or stakeholder management. And yeah, when you choose a different track, you also get courses that go with it, and you also write a thesis on that topic. So the third year is really all for like personalization and going more towards a specific career.
Okay, thank you. So there's a large variety of master programs you can choose after you've completed your bachelor. So plenty of choice and time to think about it during your bachelor as well. Next question. Oh, there's one on... Oh, okay, well...
Well,
and then it's difficult to see for me because I can't.
Hopefully it's a fun question. Other than studies and work internships, what else is there to do? Social life, clubs, hobbies? Share a little bit more what you do outside of studies.
If you, I think after this lecture there's another one, and after that there's a general introduction to IBA where I'm also talking about that topic. I had a slide in that presentation, but there's like really a lot of things to do. There's academic and career-focused associations that you could do. There, so like the Awesome Star Case Club, where you solve cases and go in competition. But there's also things like sports associations, where there's many of them. I play field hockey, but there's also tennis, swimming, volleyball, anything you can do. But also social associations, which you might go on trips with STAR. So I went on the ski trip or the freshman weekend. So there's a lot of things to do. And not only that, I just did 3. And there's many more. I think Juliette has done some others than me.
Yeah, for example, I'm doing climbing, I'm also dancing, but also for associations, I'm in a startup, so it's really, really interesting. I'm also in a board where we're doing events for students, so party life and everything, it's really, really fun also. I'm also an ambassador, so we're here. And I'm also consulting for NGOs, and you're also doing this too. And it's really interesting because we're in a team of 5 students, and we're really working with an NGO and consulting for them and telling them maybe what they can improve in their strategy and everything. So yeah, there are a lot of associations and interesting things that you can do besides of your studies. In my first year, I also joined STAR, so they are also outside. You can also talk to them. It's the biggest study association in Erasmus, or in RSM. And I did the activity team for active members, so I organized events, I organized the gala, I organized the weekends, and it was also really interesting to see all the organization, all the budget, the finance, like, yeah, it was really interesting.
And also for like international students, if you're like feeling homesick or something like that, we have a lot of like cultural associations that, you know, can help you reconnect with your own culture and meet people who come from the same place as you. For example, you have like the Indian Association, you have a Chinese association, you have like a whole bunch of different associations to meet people from your own culture. So yeah, especially for the international students, that'd be really nice.
And IBA gives you time for this. You have time besides your study to do this. It's really interesting to do this.
And I would say, like maybe outside of associations, in general, the IBA cohorts tend to be very, very connected. So most of them form really nice friend groups, and they're usually down to do a lot of activities in and around the city. Of course, Rotterdam is full of fun activities that you can do.
Okay, so the key is finding a nice balance between your studies and your mental well-being as well, and do some fun as well. I think the one person on the, yeah.
What did you like the least about your study?
Oh, what do you like the least of your study? Good question.
I think for me it's easy. I think like I miss that we don't have a lot of small classes. Yeah, we have workshops, we sometimes have small lectures, but I miss, the classes. That we don't have a specific group. We have professional development course where we have a little group, but it's not really all the time, so maybe I miss this.
Yeah, like I have kind of like the same thing. It's like, it's quite a good course, and like, I don't know like what necessarily like I don't necessarily like about it.
I would say maybe some courses that I don't like, but I mean that happens when you study anything. There's in the first and second year you have all of the courses are mandatory, so you cannot just choose different ones. So there might not be some after the first year you realize, okay, maybe I'm not into human resource management or not into marketing, and then in the second year I have to do that again and dive even deeper. So that's something I don't like, but I think it's also good because it assures you. So if you maybe in the first year, I was thinking, okay, I don't like math because the math course wasn't fitting me that well. But then second year, all of the math courses are kind of more fun for me. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, having these courses twice and these mandatory courses. On the one hand, you don't like some of the courses. On the other hand, you have to try them out, and so you're sure what you don't want to do and what you want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for me that would be also the same as Tom said, indeed. Of course, there's going to be courses that you don't really like, but then again, it is of course better to realize that you don't like a certain course than realizing that you don't like something that maybe you already chose as a career. So I think that's why IBA especially is very valuable, because it allows you to kind of know and dive deeper into the different topics and different aspects before you actually choose it. So while it can be an aspect that's not so fun about the program, it's also definitely very valuable.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Yeah, there's somebody there in the middle, or up front as well.
To ask, how is the timetable for the lessons arranged for the first 2 years?
So you mean like when the classes are, or how much?
For example, how many classes do you have in a week, and like how long for each class?
So the classes are usually 1.5 hours long, and a 15-minute break in between. And they go from 9 a.m. Is usually the earliest class, and then the latest class can be 5 or even 7, but that's quite unusual. And I would say, because you usually have like 3 subjects per block at the same time, so I would say there's maybe 1 to 2 lectures per subject a week. So you might have 6 classes per week, which are 1.5 hours each, and then for some of the classes you have also additional workshops that are sometimes mandatory, sometimes optional for extra training. So for math, there's extra workshops where you can solve the problems. For statistics, there's some extra workshops. So I would say there's a bit more than these 12 hours of lectures, but after that it's a lot of self-studying. So you spend you can arrange your time yourself, and if you want, you can in between classes go into the library and then have the afternoon or like freer, or you can say, okay, I only go to the class and then study in the afternoon. That's really up to yourself.
Yeah, it depends on the students, but it's mostly 20 hours, around 20 hours of self-study per week.
Yeah. And it also, I think, really depends on the block as well, because in some blocks you have more classes than others, because we have some courses that you just have to watch like online clips and then do quizzes at the end. And then you have like Q&A sessions sometimes, which are like, and it's important to keep in mind that most of these classes are not mandatory. So, you know, if 1 week you can't show up for something, for some reason, like it's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended. And that way, like you can stay on track, but it really depends on the block as well. Sometimes we have it all online. Like for example, in the first year we had the third, like first half of the third block was all online. So it really depends.
Maybe something that's also nice to know: Fridays are usually free of lectures, so you kind of have a longer weekend, I would say. Mostly the lectures are from Monday to Thursday, and Fridays are usually for like workshops. But this is of course not always the case, but more generally speaking, especially in the first and second years, the Fridays are usually, they don't have really any attendance on campus itself.
And also the lectures are not, there's not always mandatory attendance, so that's also a thing to know. And workshops sometimes yes, sometimes no. But for example, we have IDU class, and we have a mandatory attendance on Fridays at like 5 p.m. So that's also a thing to consider.
But this one is you apply for the class, so
yes.
You're not forced to do that. If you want to do consulting for NGOs, you can apply for it, and then if you get accepted, you kind of put yourself in that spot.
So we'll keep you busy, basically, during the week. Yeah, and there's 2 on those sides. Well, if somebody comes with a microphone.
I have a microphone.
Oh, no.
So I wanted to ask how the focus on sustainability is incorporated in the program.
So in our second year, we had this course called Responsible Business Leadership, where we sort of focused on the sustainability development goals. And I'll link this back to IB because I felt like in IB we had sustainable development goals, which sort of helped me or gave like a leeway to sort of understand how they work. But of course, you go over them here at IBA, and especially with responsible business leadership, you're focusing on how to be a sustainable business and how to lead a sustainable business. So there's a lot of focus on being a force for positive change and sustainability. So
yeah, I care also about sustainability myself in my life, in my personal life. And so that's why I also wanted to implement it in my studies. So that's why I joined a startup, and the name is Leafit. And we're also focused on doing some objects and products for sustainability, so against climate change and everything. So that's also a thing to consider, that associations, sometimes you can also implement it to have like sustainability in your studies.
I mean, every course has an SDG linked to them, a sustainable development goal, and it's really a big theme in many of the courses. So in finance, we had a lecture wholly dedicated to sustainable finance, and in most of the subjects, you will get sustainability somewhere. So there's a lot of it.
Okay, thank you. There's a gentleman here who also has a question on the, third row? Or do you have another question?
Another question,
okay.
Not related to this one.
Oh, okay.
So, Tom, you said that the course does not have exams and that the assessment is based on the submissions. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right?
For the strategic business plan, yes, this is a very special course. but the other courses have exams. It's just this course that has no exams, and that's why it stands out. And it also goes much longer than the other courses. So if you attended the General Introduction, Strategic Business Plan is a course where you work with a real company as a group of students. You find your own company, and then you work with that and develop a business plan for them. And there's no exams in this course, and there's it's only submissions based. So you have multiple, I think 3 or 4 submissions that count towards that grade, but there's no time in the exam center.
Okay. It depends because, sometimes on the courses, the final grade, it also depends on group projects. So sometimes it can count to 20 to 40% of the final grade, and then there's like 60% for exam.
So there is mix of both, right?
Yes, mix of both, but it depends on the subjects.
Okay.
Sometimes there are group projects, sometimes not.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there somebody with a microphone for this gentleman here on the 3rd row? Yeah, because he's been raising his hand for... Oh, here? 3rd. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. I have a question for Tom. You said that math wasn't your favorite. Was that linked to the difficulty, or was it you had interest in other things more?
It was... I don't know, to be honest. I think math is one of the subjects I spent the most time on, but that was, I think, also because it was one of the first subjects and one of the subjects that looked threatening. So I was like, marketing management, okay, I can somewhat do fine there, but for math, I mean, math is always, you need a bit of practice before you can get it down. And so I spent a lot of time on that course. And so I remember it more vividly of having to do a lot of exercises and a lot of practice there. So I felt like it was the most difficult one, even though it was quite doable. I did math in high school, and I think everyone who did math in high school and passed the minimum requirements is very well equipped to pass this course. It just requires some practice, and the practice was the thing that threw me off there, which in high school you were in class and then you had to practice anyways, but here you had to sit down and then you're thinking, okay, I could go hang out with friends now, or I do math, and that's then very painful. But yeah, it's very doable. It for me was something that threw me off.
Yeah, and also with like the math course itself, it was done online, so we had to like do it in our own pace, and then so like I guess people can get off track a bit if they don't have like the motivation, I guess. Yeah.
And a quick follow-up. Would you say that the workshops were a good way for you to further improve your math level?
I think it's always good to go to workshops. Many people don't do it. I don't know how many people only go to the workshops. Most people don't, but I always recommend if you do IBA, please go to the workshops, at least the first one, and see if it helps you. Because I think, especially for statistics, it was really helpful because the teacher, the prof, explained a lot about the subject there, which you wouldn't have gotten in the lecture. And many of the workshops are taught by the professors or teaching assistant, but they have a very well understanding of the topic. So even if you have a technical question, which I often had, I don't know, just like what happens if we do that, they can help you out a lot. And I think it helps to practice as well, because it forces you to at least sit down and study for this 1.5 hour workshop. And I think I would always recommend going there.
Yeah, as it's mostly self-study, it's also really good to have some time to ask questions if you want, and not to spend your time with yourself without any
or
answers.
ChatGPT as a
practice.
practice.
Or ChatGPT, yes. So yeah.
Well, you hear it from the students, go to workshops. Anyone else? I see a couple of hands over there. Oh, over there as well. Yeah, well, okay.
So related to the student associations, what were the activities that you found most interesting and most useful?
So for example, like career-related associations or academic-related associations, I personally found like networking events very helpful, especially when you can like meet companies and do in-house stays and those kind of things. For example, like social associations, there's a lot of parties that go on, and also like cultural events as well, depending on what association you're part of. So there's a lot of good ways to make friends and network with people, and I think that's like a very valuable thing.
I think also, if you're coming to study here, I wasn't able to go to Eureka Week. Definitely go to Eureka Week. And because of that, for me, the freshman weekend, which was organized by the Star Association, was really helpful. Like they organize a lot of trips. Like they have a Euro trip, they have a study trip outside of Europe, which last year I think we went to Korea. And so there's very many things that are organized, and you can meet a lot of new people there. So I think there's a lot of events, and if you went to every event, honestly, that's very strong. But just like I think, try to attend as many as you can, because it's very nice. But of course, balance it with studying. So you have to meet the minimum requirement, the 60 credits for the binding study advice. Make sure you meet that. But after that, just try to get everything you can, because you're only studying once, and this is a very free and personal time. So.
Yeah, for me it was really useful because I met a lot of my friends from there. Like I know that in my IDU class we are a team of students, and I am friends with all of them, and I'm spending all of my time with them now. And so yeah, I think it's really useful also to have practical experience, and really not only learning but also doing business. I am in a startup, so I really know what I'm talking about, because I'm now like talking with customers, with real life customers, doing real life cases. So yeah, it's really, really interesting also for your professional life. It gave me so much, and I really recommend to also learn from this and not only from IBA studies.
Yeah, so I would say that the more academic associations, they definitely help prepare you get some more professional skills and sometimes even some working experience. Because I was, for example, in the second year, I was in the tech consulting group. So it's essentially an association where in a group of students you will consult a tech company. And this was very valuable for me. And we also had regular meetings with the CEO of this tech company. And I feel like you'll learn a lot from that. And it's kind of similar to doing an internship, for example. So it kind of does give you some work experience, but in a fun way that allows for you to learn. Another thing that is definitely valuable from the associations is the network. I think many people underestimate how important your network is that you build, professional as well as social. Of course, it's a very nice way to meet friends, to do fun activities, but it's also a very nice way to connect with professionals in, for example, the career that you later want to have. And it's also a very nice way to sometimes even end up doing internships of doing jobs that you normally wouldn't think that you would end up in. So it kind of goes for itself. And through associations is also how I found my internship that I did in the beginning of the year. That was, for example, through this association STAR, because sometimes they also organize speed interviews with many companies, usually also very big and famous companies. So that's also definitely a way to network and broaden your connections.
Okay, thank you. I see a couple of hands over there. Yeah, please go ahead.
Did you struggle to find a housing in Rotterdam?
The hot topic, housing.
I think for the first year, in the first year I lived on campus in the Zior housing, and I know many people that lived in the Hatta housing and also in the social hub, which is like the student housing that is close to university. The three. There's also the Erasmus International House, which is also quite common. These are definitely very nice go-tos, but they are quite pricey, many of them, especially Zior. And housing in general is very difficult to find. So the student housing is not guaranteed, and often only for first-year international students. And afterwards, you also have to find privately, and it's very difficult. So if you know that you're accepted, start early, and even if you have a house and you need one for next year, start early there, because it took me, I started semi-searching in March for my new house now, or my new apartment, and I found it in August when I had to move in September, and I had to give up my old apartment in July, so I had to store my stuff at a friend's place for the transition period, so it's really difficult. Start early and really be on, keep up with it, and don't just say, okay, I'm gonna look right now. You really need to follow up there and really do a lot. It's very exhausting. That's, I think, honestly, my most negative point about studying in Rotterdam is trying to find housing because it's very difficult. But I think it's the same in many other cities in the Netherlands and also outside. So I don't know if it's,
Everyone ends up with housing, so that's also a thing to consider. And also a little tip for me, it's to literally go on every website, and also to keep in contact sometimes with the landlord. Sometimes they say, oh, I don't have anything for you, but you keep contact with them, and at some point they will say, oh, I have something. And that's how I found my second apartment here, and it was really good, so yeah.
Maybe a different perspective to this problem. I decided not to move to Rotterdam, so I live at home. And for me, it's like around an hour. So the commute is an hour to the uni and then an hour again back home. And I've done this throughout the 2.5 years. And I would say that it is definitely doable. So that is also an option. For some people, maybe an option while you're looking for housing. But it's definitely not mandatory or a must to live on campus or in the city.
No, I also live 25 minutes from campus by bike, and I actually really enjoy it to do 1 hour of biking per day. So I also recommend, like, even if you're far away, it's also really nice. And I live in a super nice neighborhood, so yeah.
For like some Dutch students that may like not live like in the locality or like close by for commuting, a good website where you can get housing for Dutch students is Stadzone, Rotterdam. They have like housing for Dutch students or international students. It doesn't really matter. They don't have any like requirements for you to get housing. So I think that if you live quite far away but still in the Netherlands and you want to look for housing in Rotterdam, that's a good option for you.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. One more question I hear. Oh, lots of hands suddenly. First come, first served. I don't know.
I had 2 questions. The first one would be like, how much math do you have to do per week?
How much mathematics you have to do per week?
I think IBA is very balanced in that. So we have, I would say, roughly 50% qualitative, 50% quantitative courses. So 50% of the courses you don't really do any math, and 50% of the courses you do some kind of math. But I wouldn't say that it's really a lot if you're scared of math, or if math is like an issue. It's not. I think for me the most difficult one was the first math course, and afterwards it just builds up on that, and it's basically the same topics that get applied to different contexts, and it's not really that much high theoretical math. Maybe the most advanced stuff is like in statistics or in finance when you do options, but that's also very well explained by the professor, and you don't have to derive the function for options trading. In that you just apply the numbers, so it's very application based. So it's not that much, and if you do it, it's very easy to use.
Yeah, we can't really say how much per week, but there's at least I think 1 subject per block that's quantitative.
Yeah, and also like with adding on to what Tom said, it's basically you're sort of like. It's a step-by-step kind of way to solve the problem. So it's not like anything where you're going to be completely lost and you don't know what to do, because it really builds on each other and it's explained quite well, I would say. So,
and except for the actual math course in the first year, I wouldn't say that the math that we're using in the other courses is like actual math. Like it's not like you're solving derivatives in or doing algebra in every like course. It's more like a way to solve the problems, for example, that we have in finance and economics, but it's definitely not the math that you're used to in high school.
And if you prefer to do more maths, more economics, you can always check out IBA. It's International Business Economy of Business. Yes. So if you really want to do math, also maybe check out this program, and maybe it will fit you.
Yeah, it's from Erasmus School of Economics, so not RSM, but the other and it's much more math technical.
Yeah, it's in
if that's your strength.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have to wrap it up. So any questions that you may still have for the students, they're still at the stand, so you can go downstairs and ask the questions that you have. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening. Also for those of you at home, thanks to the students. Thank you.
Is the mic off?